Okay. Today, I'm very excited to talk about this because this has been swarming around my brain for the last few weeks, months, years. I don't know. It all runs together. Parenting. Okay, first of all, this is maybe my judgmental side, but I truly, if I created the world, if I was the matriarchal goddess of the world, I would have created a system where everyone has to file an application and be approved to be a parent before they can conceive. So, anywho, that's what we're kind of baseline running on here. Um, but alas, here we are. We're parents, we have these children, and how are we going to take care of them? Another thing is, I would say, if you're on the fence about having children, my personal integrity and recommendation, which again, you don't have to agree with me, is that no one should sign up to conceive a child unless they are ready and prepared to commit. I don't mean you have to be like mastering this yet, but you need to be committed to growth, personal growth, and evolution for the rest of your life, not just 18 years, but the rest of your life. Because a baby, a child, and I don't care what the circumstances are of how this child comes into your life and how long the child is in your life, you making this agreement with another soul, your soul making this agreement with another soul, is a lifelong commitment to growing, facing your own shadows, healing, and evolving. Like literally changing. Not changing like, oh, you have to fix yourself, but like growth, like learning, like continuing to learn and understand. So, that's the baseline standard. And what I've been thinking about lately, again, my kids are 13 and 15, and I have been sole parenting. So their dad died when they were 4 and 6. Okay, so I've been parenting them alone for most of their lives. And what I'm realizing as they are in adolescence is our kids need us to not join them in the psychosis of adolescence. So, I mean, like, I had that podcast we talked about ego. Well, it literally, ego is our inner adolescent, and that develops during adolescence. So, you can imagine how strong the ego is in our children. And so, our job as parents is to not go down to that egoic state with them and communicate and parent and have a relationship with them from that state. But it is to hold steady as a conscious, wise, hopefully, you're channeling that older self version of you that's already been here and understands and can hold space and ground that egoic evolution in your teenager. Okay, so what I mean by all these words is when your child is doing the erratic hormonal crazy thing where you feel like you're maybe living a psych ward, um, don't join them there. No, no. Don't get reactive to their reactivity. Don't mirror their ego back to them. I mean, because I can tell you, I really want to do that sometimes. Like my daughter, she's like a little mini when it comes to, we're both Scorpios and we're both fiery and we both have a lot of opinions and we sound right all the time, but really we're just still learning everything. So you can imagine how interesting that is when we both go at it. So when she gets like sassy, if I mean, I can out sass her, right? Because I've been doing this longer. Hello. Um, but instead of flexing that ego part of my personality, which is so fun to do, it's so satisfying in the moment. It's not satisfying later because what it does is it breaks connection. It creates disconnection. And that's not ultimately what I want. My goal with parenting is to connect with my children, period, forever. Like, I never want to lose connection with them. And I work really hard to figure that out because that's a constantly evolving dynamic. So when she's going at it, instead of one-upping her, right, with sass and wit and sarcasm and attitude, which I can do all of those things, um, my job as a parent is to actually be this pillar that reflects back to her who she truly is, her authentic self. Because in years 1 to 5, that's where we were really learning. 0 to 5 is where we were really learning who our kids are. That true nature of curiosity or observation or just presence and joy and love and humanity, right? We can see it. We can look back at how each child that we have or whatever was at that age. And that is their true essence. Okay. And it's our job as caregivers to hold that essence and reflect that back to them when they're fucking losing their minds in adolescence. What do you think? What do you think about that? Is that not crazy to consider? Instead of, oh my God, how do I respond to this attitude? How are we going to get past these teen years and all of that? Instead of focusing so much in that, what I would say is a symptomatic state, because it's a symptom of the hormones and this very short-term era of their life. Instead of focusing on all of that, think bigger, think full picture who this soul is. Okay, so they're the whole thing. They're the 3-year-old them, they're the 7-year-old them. That's still who they are. And so instead of saying, you're selfish, you're a dick, you're such a brat, you're a jerk, like, why are you all these things? Like, obviously, we think that, right? Because they are acting like that. But that doesn't mean that's who they are. That is this crazy mix of hormones mixed with immaturity, mixed with lack of life experience, mixed with that in between state between childhood and adulthood. It's a very nasty little cocktail that a lot of us get stuck in psychologically. We get stuck thinking that's who we are. We're like this erratic, off the wall, bipolar, back and forth type of personality, because that's how every teenager is, at least inside of their minds, right? Even if they're not acting it out, it can feel very erratic. And so we as caregivers, let's remember to hold their essence, the truth of who they are, their soul, and reflect that back to them and just remind them, hey, you're not going to feel this way forever. This is temporary. I see you. I know you. I know you got it in you still. That curiosity is there. Get curious. Just play around with that. I know it's in there still. That kindness, that humanity, that empathy, the way you see the world. I saw it from birth. I saw it when you were 3. I remember who you are. It's okay if you forgot. That's cool. That's totally normal. You'll remember again, and I'll be here to remind you. Right? That's such a different approach. My God, do I wish that I had that growing up. And I get it. It's hard, and our parents didn't have the resources like this podcast that we have now. But here we go. This is growth, right? This is evolution. We are changing what generational wealth looks like. And we have the opportunity to give our kids something different than what we had. So there is your food for thought this week. Consider how, and even if you don't have kids, like, you can seriously think about yourself as an adolescent, and what was the messaging? Were your parents, emotionally intelligent and mature enough to hold that space for you and not be swayed by your erratic adolescent behavior? Or did they give into it, and did that shape the connection and the dynamic between you and your parents from then on out? Like, it's so powerful what happens in these teen years and the way we label and identify our children. So that's my caution to you, is just be aware, pay attention to that, see what's temporary, what's hormonal, and then see how you can hold the essence of their soul and reflect that back to them. There you go, guys. Good luck. to us all, really.